Welcome to Black Man Lab. We are live Monday, July 12th. We are happy to be here. This is going to be our last of doing this in this forum tonight. Next week, we will go back live and then we will have another forum that we will be on streaming live, and we'll talk about that later as well. But tonight will be our last after we got my brothers Molly and Joe on with me. We've been doing this since the beginning of COVID. So this had become kind of regular for us, but we look forward to getting back to being live and in person and being in the same space as one another. So tonight we have a great cast of panelists tonight, and we're going to be talking about violence in our community. But before that, I want to make sure I introduce my two fellow board members as well as co-founder Mauli Davis. Mauli, how you doing, brother?
What's up, brother Marty? What's up, brothers? Good to have brothers from the Chicago and the ATL here to address this issue of community violence. Man, we are grateful for you all to be here, so for us to have this conversation, and just to give everybody a little backdrop as to what the Black Man Lab is and what it's all about, is that we really just started as a group of fathers, Black men who wanted to make sure that their sons were getting good information from Black men who we trusted and believed in. And so we started reaching the brothers, and we started it about 5 years ago now, just gathering at our law firm, then gathering at Sankofa Church, and then ultimately getting to the Andrew and Walter Young YMCA, and just pulling young brothers, their fathers, grandfathers together so that we could create a safe and sacred space, a space where Black men could just be, where we could be vulnerable, we could be honest, where we could be truthful with each other, and where we could show each other love and support in ways that this society typically does not endorse. So we endorse this. And so we're grateful that we have been able to build, and we're grateful for our guests tonight and for the work that Brother Marty and Joe have been able to sustain during COVID. It's been difficult. But these brothers have held the banner, kept us going. And so now it's time to get back in person. So we're hopeful we'll be able to get some of our folks to fly in for these Monday sessions and kick it with us, and just vibe with these young brothers that are looking for love in all the right places. So with that, thank you, brothers, and I'm looking forward to this conversation. I know that Brother Kene Walker is going to be jumping in a moment as well. So it'll be strong.
Absolutely. Thanks, Brother Mauli. And we've done this now since the beginning of COVID, and this has definitely served the purpose in us being able to reach from even outside of Atlanta to bring brothers, good, strong brothers, into the space about touching the lives of our young Black men. So we're really excited about that. Also with me tonight is my brother, partner in crime, who's been doing this with me since the beginning of the pandemic, my man, Joe Barker. Joe is one of our board members for Black Man Lab as well, and has been steadfast in doing this work every week. So, Joe.
Hey man, how's it going, man? Glad to be on here with everyone. We have a difficult but a needed conversation tonight. It's funny because this topic, man, it raises eyebrows in communities throughout the country, right? There's some guys that I thought about having on the panel, and they have different views of what this means and how we resolve it. So, I love the topic. I love the panelists that we have on, and I love the energy. It's going to be really exciting to be back in person. And Marty, a little bit later as we get into it, I'm excited for us to kind of explain to them this new space that we're going to enter in addition to being in person. So really excited about that, man. Appreciate it.
Absolutely. And Joe, since we got you, man, why don't we get started, and you can start us off with getting us centered so that we are able to take in this information tonight and have open minds and open hearts. So if you could do that, I'd appreciate it.
Absolutely. One of the things I'm excited about getting back in person is getting back to this with 50, 100, however many people we have that we can allow there, getting back to being in space with one another and centering ourselves on one another in a space that allows us to receive the intellectual conversations that take place and just kind of brush off all of the stress and the strife that maybe we started the week with, maybe we carried in from last week, you know. So what we're going to do now in historic vein and that and what we'll take on in person next week, we're going to center ourselves. We're just going to take some deep breaths that will allow us to be in this space calmly, center ourselves, and just think about what this topic really is and really have some active listening capacity to be with one another as we have this conversation. So with that, what we'll do is we'll take a couple of deep breaths. On the count of three, I will just ask you all to inhale deeply. 1, 2, 3. Hold that at the top and then exhale. And just let all of the stress and the negative vibes and the negative energy that tries to stick to us throughout the days, let it roll off. And let's bring in this positive energy. So with that, one more, we're going to do, let's take a deep breath. 1, 2, 3. Exhale. Let those lungs clear all that out. Breathe in some positivity, and let's get ready to bring the ancestors into the room.
Thank you, Brother Joe. Appreciate that, man. As always, it's important for us to be of clear mind and clear heart so that we can be open to taking in great information. So often the outside fogs up our minds and keeps us from being the best us that we can be. So I really appreciate that. Thank you for that. The other thing is we know that we do this work on the shoulders of all those that came before us, all those that sacrificed, all those that put in the work, all those that bled for us to be where we are right now. So with that, I'm going to ask Brother Mowley to bring the ancestors into this space so that we can have their spirit and their angels watching over us. So, Brother Mowley.
Yeah, so we will just think about for a moment those ancestors who came in ancient times that built civilizations that knew the way, that built in Kemet, in Nubia, in Ghana, in Mali, in Songhai. And we just want to honor those ancestors by saying Ashe.
Ashe.
Just think of those ancestors who were brought from the mother fatherland into the Western Hemisphere. And when they got here, they continued to build and rebuild African civilizations. They didn't try to imitate other folk. They built independent African civilizations, like in Brazil, in Jamaica, in Haiti, in all of the places where we found ourselves, in the swamps of Florida with the Seminoles. We want to lift those resistant ancestors up who were resistant, resilient, and continue to fight for liberation. And they were clear about where their struggle was. We want to lift them up. Ashe.
Ashe.
Then here in these yet to be United States, where we have had our battles, we think of the Fannie Lou Hamers, the Harriet Tubmans, the Denmark Vesey's, the Nat Turners, the Gabrielle Prossers, the Kwame Toure's, um, all those who would dare struggle, dare to win. We think of them. We think of Baba Hannibal Afrique, Asa Hilliard, and so many, Conrad Worrell, Anderson Thompson, Sharcy McIntyre. We think of all of those brilliant, Gwendolyn Brooks, all of those brilliant ancestors who came this way and sacrificed and gave and believed. We lift them up. Ashe.
Ashe.
And then finally, we just lift those whose names we don't know, who may have been on their way somewhere and got snatched up. And their parents and their grandparents always wondered, what happened to my child? What happened to my auntie? What happened to my uncle? And so those unnamed ancestors who we know they were loved the way we love ours right now. And we want to just acknowledge them. Ashe.
Ashe.
And then finally, to those yet unborn, someday they'll come and they'll call our names if we've done our work, and they'll remember that there were yet courageous men and women in 2021 who said that they would not surrender. They would not go quietly into the night. They would continue to organize and build and inspire and love on Black people and create a new world. And so for those children that the beautiful ones not yet born, that we make this way for, we acknowledge them by saying Ashe,
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 Ashe, oh.
Ashe. All right. Thank you so much, Brother Mowley. It's so important that we acknowledge from whence we came and understand that there is greatness in all of us. And that greatness is what's going to get us to the future that we should be in. So thank you for that. Without further ado, I want to introduce our panelists and get into the conversation. So first, I'm going to have you guys just introduce yourselves, give a little history about your background, your work, and then we'll get into some questions and have a conversation around our topic tonight. So first up, I'm going to have my brother Kene Walker. Walk, can you come on and give a quick intro of yourself? I know you can give a long one because I've heard you, but I want you to give it one of your quick ones, brother. You're muted. You're muted.
Okay, Martin.
There
can you
you
hear
are.
Me?
Yes, sir.
First of all, let me say good evening to all these distinguished gentlemen on the call. I make this because I do get paid to do this stuff right here. I make this a 15-second introduction of myself starting right now. My name is Kene Walker, the realest motivator and eternal educator. I love Black people more than I love oxygen, and I'm just honored to be in the same space with you guys who have a genuine concern about what's going on in our community. Look forward to the conversation, man. I hope I did your way about it. That's on Marty. That's 15 seconds on the dot.
That might have been a little too quick for you, brother.
I'm not used to that.
Right? I know you get paid for your work, brother, but come on, man. Tell us a little bit about what you're doing, though.
Okay, man. So one of the things that I do, I'm a founding member of Let Us Make Man, which is an organization that does so much work in the community behind the scenes that people would never even have an idea about, other than the big conference that we do, our annual conference every year. I'm the founder of Brothers Building Up Brothers, which is an organization that is directly linked to what's going on tonight's conversation, because one of my former little brothers in my organization is a senior in college right now. He was just shot 6 times, man, and they didn't even expect him to make it. So this is right here in the city, and he is like the most generous, considerate, most respectful young man that I've ever worked with in my 25 years of doing this work on behalf of the ancestors in our community. So I'm looking forward to jumping in here because this conversation is so personal for me tonight that it was almost like the universe was just working for me to even be invited in this space with everything I've been dealing with, as well as I lost a student who got hit on I-85 about 2 weeks ago, another one of my students from a few years back. So this is Marty. In closing, I think I've lost 5 students who I directly taught since last 2020 up to recently. 5 students.
Yeah, and the universe is speaking to you, brother. We need your voice here tonight. And likewise, I think having these kind of conversations are also cathartic for folks like you that are doing the work out in these streets. You need to be able to talk about it. So we're blessed to have you here. Thank you. Sorry about, the losses, as well as, the struggles that some of your obviously good young kings are having out there, man. So we'll keep pushing and we'll talk more about it. So thank you for being here again, Mark.
Thank you.
Next up, I'm bring on my brothers from Chicago, and they're literally brothers. I've known these guys since grammar school. We all went to the same grammar school together, St. Albie's in Chicago, and I know that they're doing some really good work on the streets in Chicago. So I want to bring them up. First up, Carlos, can you come on? You're on mute, brother. Did we lose him? There he is.
There you go.
Can you guys hear me?
We can hear you now, brother.
How you guys doing tonight?
Good, brother.
My name is Carlos West. I'm born and raised in Chicago. I'm a member of Phi Beta Sigma, and I'm the founder of One Team, One Plan, One Brand. I'm also a former educator. I taught Chicago Public Schools for 11 years. I was a social center director, and I also was a basketball coach. And currently, I'm a youth advocate for basically for youth that are at risk.
Awesome. Thanks so much, Carlos. Appreciate having you here. And I know that you have a lot in your background that you can share tonight.
And Carlos play at Southeast Little League. He got some affiliation with Southeast Little League, doesn't he?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. I forgot about
that.
Is that Mel?
Yeah, man. What's up, boy?
How you doing, brother?
I'm good, man. I'm good. I saw one of your videos in the Southeast Little League Facebook page. I was like, man, bruh's doing the work. It's good to see you, fam.
Good to see you too.
No doubt.
Yeah, that's Maoli Mel Davis, right? you know the Mel Davis, right? You
right.
You got confused. I should have told you that early on when we were talking. I should have told you that. I
it's
forgot.
All love.
And shame on me for forgetting the Southeast connection because we all got that too. So, your brother Cartel, how you doing, man?
What's going on, fellas? I'm always good, man. How y'all doing?
Good. Good. So tell us about your work.
All right. So I'm also a member of One Team, One Plan, One Brand. I'm the president of One Team, One Plan, One Brand, the organization that my brother started. We're non-for-profit trying to basically make this change here in Chicago that's badly needed. Went to Grambling, lived in, after Grambling, I ran my dad's company for about 8 years. When after that, I moved to Brazil. Lived down there for 16 years. So I'm currently fluent in Portuguese, Spanish, and I'm learning Haitian Creole. So we'll get to like the language aspect of all of this like during this conversation, because I truly believe that the brothers, we really, really need to get into learning different languages. I explained to that, why, whatever, after right now, but that's a little bit of me.
Good stuff, man. Good to see you and glad you're here, bro. And I'm glad to hear about your different experiences. You said 16 years in Brazil?
16, man. 2000 to 2016.
Wow.
That's amazing, man. That's amazing. To live in another country that long. That should give you some interesting perspective for sure.
Oh my God, yeah. And especially I was listening to Brother Mel talk about the African connection to Brazil, and a lot of people don't know that. Yeah. We'll talk about later on it, but Brazil had more slaves than we did here in the States. As a matter of fact, 48% of the slaves that were traded within the slave market went to Brazil before they even came up the coast. A lot of people don't know that. So I think it was like 10 million of the slaves were Brazilian slaves. I think here in the U.S. we had something like 360,000. So look at that comparison.
Interesting. Good stuff. And we'll definitely delve deeper into that.
Yeah.
Last but not least, I wanted to bring on Baba Mustafa. Baba, we saved you for last.
Hey, man.
Man, look, I'm honored to be here. Honored to be here. But look, Mauli, just to hear you say y'all about to take this thing live again, man, I'm about to bring a whole bunch of brothers over there to you. Again, I'm Brother Mustafa. Man, where do I start? At the beginning. Well, right, my claim to fame, I would say, is what's most precious to me. The fact I've been married 40 years, got chosen by the most beautiful queen, and got 3 children, 3 daughters, I'm losing count, 3 daughters and a son, 2 grandchildren. Those are the things that matter most to me, of course. I'm working right now, I'm serving right now, actually at the Fulton County Juvenile Justice Center. So I get to see a lot of the ugly side of what's going on with this topic we're going to talk about tonight. But I also get to do some great things. I would say we're very innovative at the Juvenile Court. I'm actually the founder of a program called the Smart Moves Young Men's Chess Club. And we do that. We're really going to crank that up when this COVID thing dies down. I also do a program, I'm the founder of a program called Fishing with a Mission to Save Our Sons. And Brother Mauli, I got to get with you on that so we can do some fishing trips for fathers and sons. I think probably one of the best things we can do is just stay connected.
Yeah.
Somebody said, a wise man said, children have to know that you care before they care to hear what you know. So we got to build those relationships. Another thing that's really important, I think, and it's probably one of the most difficult things, is building a bridge between the law enforcement community and the brothers in the community. Community policing was a big thing at one time. I don't know what happened. Maybe somebody can elaborate, but to me, I think that's a very important part of the work we're doing. If you know a child's name, first name, you're less likely to do harm to him or her. And so I think that's going to be a big part of what we can do moving forward.
Man.
That's,
Bob,
go ahead, Miles.
Brother Mustafa, we appreciate you, man. And he, like Kine, understated their work. This brother has been consistent. When you go into the juvenile court system, I'll just tell you all from my experience in practicing law in Atlanta and around the state of Georgia, when you walk into certain places, man, there's a darkness, a dimness, a kind of despair, right? Particularly in juvenile courts, because there's just chaos generally, because it's either a child about to be taken away from their parents, or parents have done something. It's just, but I say this, and I say this without any reservation, Brother Mustafa, Brother Tony, who's now back in Chicago, from Chicago, they were these bright lights of hope. When I walked into the space, I could just feel it. I was like, oh, they different. They weren't there just trying to earn a paycheck and hold this thing down. They were like, we're going to bring the light. We're going to try to change and transform some of these young brothers while we got their attention. So I just wanted to make sure folks understood how, because sometimes people think because you're part of the system, so-called, that you're part of the problem. But you can be in the system and you trying to pull it apart and make it do right by your people. And that's the same thing with Brother Walker. I've been in that brother's classroom. I've seen how he loves on his students, encourages his students. So this is a panel about how we love. And I just want to first make sure everybody's clear. We were intentional about not using the phrase black on black crime. That's a sucker move. This is community violence. All communities have violence. Some communities have had more violence than others. Typically, the people that you perpetrate violence against are the people that look like you, because you live in segregated communities in these yet to be United States. So we don't do black on black. We talk about community violence, the causes of it, and the work that y'all are doing to address it. So in that vein, I just want to start with Brother Cartel. In Chicago, we've heard and we see, and I was just home the last 2 weekends, I think there were 94 shootings, 16 deaths in a 3-day period, and it's, it's all over the headlines all around the country. In your opinion, if Lightfoot, the mayor of Chicago, came to you and said, I'll give you any and all the resources you need to fix this situation, Brother West, and I'm asking everybody this, if Mayor Lance Bottoms in Atlanta said, I'll give you all the resources you need to fix this, in 2.5 minutes, tell me what those resources would be that you would first ask for to quote unquote fix this situation of community violence for us. So brother Cartel, I'll start with you, and then we'll come to Brother Walker, Baba Mustafa, and then we'll close it out with Brother Carlos.
You know what? You actually asked the question that a lot of people try to find solutions. My brother actually has a good friend of his that has a company called Obama Energy. That they do this thing called telelights or telestreets. I actually wasn't even gonna mention that in this conversation, but I don't know if you guys can see this right here. Can you guys see this?
Yeah.
This is an entire light system. You know how like street lights, you have a street light poles or whatever?
Yeah.
Well, this is all digital, so it's all connected to Wi-Fi. You have to basically make the entire community basically Wi-Fi compatible. So it's cameras all over the place. A lot of people look at like cameras as being like Big Brother, but Big Brother, in my opinion, is already here. Any type of smart device, Big Brother is already here. Anybody that talks about, well, you're talking about locking up brothers, the people that's worried about being watched about cameras, those are the people that actually are doing the crimes. Because me personally, I'm not doing anything wrong, so I don't care about being watched. You know what I mean? This is actually a real solution. We went to a meeting about a week ago with this brother, and this technology, he's the only company that actually has distribution rights to this equipment. And it's really, really deep. If I had, let's say, a budget of $1 million to put, I would put it in the poorest area in Chicago, being West Pulliam, or let's say I would probably, since I live on the South Side, I would probably be a little bit more biased, maybe put it either in South Shore or Roseland because it's kind of close to where I live. But that would be a solution. I'm tired of hearing people talk about, oh, let's have a forum to talk about how we're going to handle that. We need solutions to the problem. The organization that my brother started, One Team, One Plan, One Brand, is an actual solution to the problem, because we're actually giving kids skills that they're going to be able to use. We're starting them at, say, first, second grade. So we're going to be giving them skills, whereas as they get older, they're not going to become people in the system. The 15, 16, 17-year-olds that's going out here doing this mess, my opinion, they're already lost. They've already committed all of these crimes. You see it on TV, like Biden came here to Chicago yesterday, the day before, because a white guy got shot. A white University of Chicago student got hit by a stray bullet on the red line, got killed. So that's why Biden came to Chicago. So, of course, now it's really becoming national news because of that student. So if you ask me that, that's at least a solution. I'm tired of hearing, oh, well, let's talk about what needs to be done. I want to see solutions. So that would be one solution. Our company, or I'll say our non-for-profit, in my opinion, is another solution.
Appreciate you, brother. Appreciate you. Walt, jump in there, man.
Okay, Molly. Molly, could you rephrase that right quick? I just want to make sure I'm answering.
Yeah, and we can't see you, Walt. If you can come on, put your video on. What I'm asking is if Mayor Lance Bottoms said, Walk 100, you've got any and all the resources that you need, what would be some of the resources that you would ask for that you feel like can make a difference immediately? So I love what Brother West was saying. It's about solutions. We're not gonna call another meeting. We're just saying, give me these resources and we can put this stuff to work. What are your thoughts on that, Bro Walt?
Okay, Molly. Well, first of all, let me just start out by saying we would have to get real. You said Walk 100. That's what my kids call me, Walk 100. So when I hit that building, they already know he's gonna be 100. He coming out the hole. He go from 0 to 100 real quick. So all that street stuff right there, I tell people all the time, man, the first solution is, and I heard Baba Mustafa mention it when he started his piece, Baba Mustafa, I know I use this quote a lot, children don't care how much you know until they know how much you care.
Yes, sir.
So I don't care if they're gang banging in Chicago, if they're gang banging in Little Rock, Arkansas, or if they're gang banging in my little small hometown, Thomaston, Georgia, because I know those cats who keep them ice picks on them, who know how to poke you out. I don't care what city you from. You can be from Chicago, but y'all get a little bit more media for it. But man, on a per capita, man, there's so much danger in the country, man, that you'll be shocked. And it doesn't even make the news. That's the scary part about it. They're not doing it because they're going to get some rank. They're doing it because this is just like this constant conditioning that we've been given for centuries that nobody wants to address. So what would I do after I did that brief introduction? The first thing, Molly, I would say is that we have to awaken their genius. We have to trust their genius. And then, Molly, more so than anything, we have to teach them to execute their genius. And how do we do that? That's a program I'm working on right now called 8. Awaken their genius, trust their genius, and execute their genius. How do we do that? Let's start with Black boys. The question is all buried in Black boys. And I'm saying this is no slight to the queens out there, because the queens have the key to the whole equation. I told my girls one time, we start with Black boys, it would take 2 weeks for us to end sagging at any inner city school if the girls just simply said, I don't date anybody who's sad, because my father would not even let you step up on my porch looking like that right there.
That's
because
right.
you'll be disrespecting not only me, but you'll be disrespecting my daddy's queen, who I know what he gonna do to you about me. But he damn sure gonna do something to you about disrespecting his queen in his household. So it starts with that piece right there, Molly, black boys. And when we do that, I guarantee you we can have girls who will make boys pull their pants up just by not talking to them. So what is the key to it all, Molly? If we're gonna start with black boys, though, we can preach, preach, preach. Man, this literacy piece, man, let's get rid of the milestones and all this stuff for about 5 years. Let's go back and do A makes a short sound and makes a long sound. But. See, Negroes are out here now thinking that they're gonna make it in this world because of some of this quick licking they doing. And Molly always says in his presentation that you hit that lick, dog, you got 10 fingers in the air, right? You're doing a mandatory minimum of 10. See, if I'm not literate, I don't want to be sitting in the classroom. It's not that my educators are not giving me information that's useful, but all they're doing is pumping in content knowledge. And I tell my students oftentimes, Molly, and I'll move on to my second point, content knowledge is useless, man, because the great aim of education is not knowledge, but action. So let's get busy teaching our boys how to read and understand what they're reading. That's the literacy piece I'm talking about, so they can move on to the second part, which is cultural awareness. And I have 1 minute left. With this cultural awareness piece, it goes to, if I don't know who I am, and I'll briefly just hold this up, something that I'm bringing back out, Molly, called the 10 Commandments of Black History. And I'll show that later on because I want to change that to the 10 Commandments of Black Our Story. And right there, when you understand that you are a God, when you understand that your mama is royalty, you understand now that I will not treat another queen any different than I treat my mom, because I am aware as a God, my queen walks beside me, not behind me, because that's what our ancestors taught. And you will never get those nuggets in a school system. Hence, there's a difference between schooling and education. They're schooling you to be employees, and they're educating their children to be the employer who hires you for these $5 and $10 jobs. My last point, Molly, with my last 30 seconds, we're going to tie that all into a perfect little knot with entrepreneurship. I work behind the scenes, man, with the stuff Atlanta was doing about getting the water boys off the corners or whatnot. Hey, man, we're not going to let y'all do, like Molly said, this black on black 1 or 2 set incidents, and you say that's why these young brothers shouldn't be on the block selling water. I know there are other options they could have. Selling pills, they could be selling crack, they could be out here selling stolen guns, they could be doing kick doors and so on and so forth. So those water boys, whether y'all know it or not, in the city of Atlanta, those boys have created over $1 million market without any proper education. So I would say, Molly, we want to get real about this. Let's not play no stuff about we're doing an entrepreneurship program that's going to send them back to an $8 hour job when some of them are making $300 a day selling water. So, Molly, those will be my 3 points, man. I would say that we got to work on literacy and get that whole mindset of black boys changed. We got to do cultural awareness, and last and certainly not least, not just for the youth, but for adults as well, entrepreneurship.
Right, brother. All right, you came on with it as expected. And this literacy piece is very, very real. When you go to Fulton County Jail, which is for Brother West, our brothers in Chicago, Fulton is the equivalent of Cook County. You go to that jail, and on average, they read on the 6th grade reading level. 6th grade reading level. And so the direct connection between education and incarceration is very, very clear. And I would imagine those numbers are the same across the country, that if you are unable to read, then you are more likely to be incarcerated because you're done with school, as Walk said. Baba, you got all the resources. Where do you go with this?
Man, well, I think one thing I definitely would do, let's say if I had $1 million from our mayor, I would replicate what you're doing. I think you got a template, you got a model for what I think works. When I was working at the YMCA on Camilton Road, and I was doing a alternative program with young men. And they would come in, and some days they'd be high, they'd be, just trying to find a way to self-medicate, deal with the stress, whatever stress they're dealing with. And I took them downtown to the World of Coke. And they all walked away from me. And then they came back, because I get on them every day. Look, we got to get this education, man. People pay you for what you know, not what you think you know, what you know. And they came back to me, they walked off, And they came back to me and they said, I tell you what, we'll let go of all the weed selling, all the pills, and we'll let go of every criminal thing we do if you can put us to some work that'll pay us a decent wage. And I was stumped. I mean, I was happy to hear it, but I didn't have an answer. So I'm saying I don't even really have an answer now specifically, but I do know what they want because they told me, if you give us an alternative, and speaking of the brothers that selling the water, they're amazing. I work with them every day. Brilliant. And Tina can tell you more about this than me. If we do everything based on these standardized tests, that don't measure the intelligence of our boys. I actually worked at Clayton County Jail. So what you're talking about, Brother David Mawuli, I can tell you firsthand, them some of the most brilliant brothers you ever want to see. It just made some bad choices and some of them just got caught up. So in short, I would say the first thing we need to focus on is creating entrepreneurial opportunities and employment opportunities that will give them a livable wage. Some of these brothers that I took a kid home late one night after a program, and I was trying to take him home, and he stopped me. He said, "Let me out right here." True story, y'all. Let me out right here. I said, "You got to your house?" "Nah, man, I can't go home right now." I said, "What you mean you can't go home? It must have been 11 o'clock at night." "I can't go home, man. I got to get this money, man." I said, "Wait a minute, brother. I got to get this money. I can't even go in the house, brother. I got to help pay some bills. I got to make this money." So saying all that to say, we have got to create some opportunities for our young brothers and sisters to make a livable wage, a decent wage. And that does start, as Brother Walker said, with an education, something that they can market, an entrepreneurial opportunity. You see, we haven't done it for them, so they've done it themselves. So I admire that. And every chance I get, if it's my last dollar, I'm gonna toss it to that brother that's out there trying to hustle. So yeah, I don't have the answer, but I'm willing to volunteer my energy and effort to anybody that does. But I think it starts with making sure these brothers and sisters can make a decent wage.
Baba, thank you for that, first of all. But secondly, you're speaking to, kind of what we've seen in our universe of the Black Man Lab is to be successful, right? And that I think that our young folks, that when they have the understanding of what they are, in terms of their intelligence, where they come from, and when I say where they come from, I'm talking about us as Black people historically. And I've said this in this forum 1,001 times. When you look at the level of oppression that we have dealt with over, umpteen years, and yet here we are.
Here we are.
Simple fact that we are here tells you the resilience, the innovation, the creativity that we have as Black folks to survive. That doesn't happen because you're dumb.
Right.
That doesn't happen because you don't have the same level of intelligence as other folks out there. It happens because yours is better. They couldn't do what we do, right? And those young folks need to have that level of understanding, especially our young brothers. So I appreciate your insight into that, and that speaks to exactly, I think, what we have to figure out. And that's what this conversation is kind of about. How do we figure out to manifest that in every one of our young brothers out there? Yes, Black Man Lab is an organization that does that. Brother Walk is out there. Brothers West are doing the work. You are. But how do we manifest that even further? And we'll get into that after Brother Carlos. Carlos, are you there?
Hi.
Hey, so the question to you, as it was to the other brothers, if Lori Lightfoot said, "Hey, here's whatever resources you need, here they are," what would you do with them to change the paradigm of what our communities are looking like right now?
Okay. The first thing I would do, I'm coming from the teaching perspective because I used to be a school teacher and a social center director and coach. So to Brother Davis's point, the kids are reading at a 6th grade reading level. So when I was a teacher, one of the things they complained about is they didn't see themselves in the literature. So like if kids know how to rap and know all the lyrics, is not intelligence, they're bored. So I don't know if you guys could see this. So one of the books we have in the curriculum is diary for boys and boys to teens to men. Can you guys see that?
Yeah.
So
Yes.
the author of this book is named Aaron Brown, and he's my mentor. He's a former PE teacher, and he was also in the $27 group, which was my father's golf group, like the biggest golf group in Chicago. So what he does using the book, he uses characters and it discusses skills. So it talks about envy, jealousy, hatred, despair, peace, love, truth, equality, wisdom, etc. So he uses the characters to teach the kids why they're acting like this. And then you can see like the kids hat on backwards. So the kids can identify themselves in the book. This next book is called Dead End. This is by J. Anthony Gray. So basically, this book talks about a dead end in the streets. If you out hustling, you either gonna end up dead or in jail. And then this book is called Wake Up Black America. We're sleepwalking back to slavery. So we're gonna use the curriculum, first of all, where the kids would see themselves in the curriculum. The second thing is we have a bunch of money. We have programs that are already written. So we have like the 3 programs we starting first are instructional, which I'm doing. And then my brother's gonna do the foreign language and STEM. So I'm gonna read like future programs, military leadership, communication, music, entertainment, photography, art, business, entrepreneurship, job, career training, family life, barber, clothing, agriculture, culinary, parks, transportation, childcare, medical, nursing, automotive, flight school, hotel, restaurant, architecture, engineering, construction, carpentry, painting, plumbing, electrical, flooring, roofing, welding, concrete, landscaping, swimming, gymnastics, boxing, wrestling, golf, tennis, track, soccer, bowling, hockey, basketball, football, baseball. So I'm gonna use the sports programs. We don't want to just teach the kids to play basketball. Basketball is a business. So being a referee is a job. Being a coach is a job. Being a GM is a job. An athletic trainer. The media person that's gonna announce it, like Stephen A. Smith. So we want to integrate this where the kids are in these programs where they could get jobs. So we had the $1 million. We'll have a facility on the south side, the west side, the south suburbs, the west suburbs, and the kids will go to the programs that interest them. So particularly, that's why Black boys have a tendency to drop out, because they're not interested. They know they're not making money. So if you can't read, they say, why am I going to waste my time going to school when I can go on the corner to hustle?
Good stuff, brother. Man, that was comprehensive as hell right there, Carlos. You touching on everything, brother, which is great. And that speaks to what we try to do here at the Black Man Lab. You know, every week we have a different topic with the hopes that that topic catches somebody. You know what I mean? We want these young brothers, because I think that the other thing, and y'all might want to correct me on this, or if you think differently, I think the other thing is our young brothers may have interest in other things, right? One, they may not have a good level of understanding of how can I get there, you know, to do that. Or two, they may say, well, that ain't cool, you know. So when they see a brother that, you know, is like Walt or like you, Baba, that they see out there that are doing this work, and they say, oh, that's a cool brother, you know, why I could do that. I would love to do that. You know, right. The problem is that there hasn't been enough of us that have reached out in some form or fashion. And I know there are plenty of organizations out there doing the work. And I just had a conversation, and I'll share this with you all, and then we'll move on. I just had a conversation with somebody recently from another organization that's doing really good work. And I said, man, we have to find a way that we are able to galvanize together better, because the mountain of oppression that is out there is so big that we cannot continue to go picking at it with little snail forks. That's what we're doing. You know, it's this, we're all doing great work, but we're all just picking at this big mountain of oppression. So it really doesn't go anywhere. But now if we are to galvanize, and that's my next question to you all, what do you see? How do you see us being able to galvanize our resources together so that we're not waiting for Lori Lightfoot, we're not waiting for Keisha Lance Bottoms, to get ourselves together to attack this better? And Bob, I'll start with you.
Well, you know, the first thing that came to mind when you said that is places like where you are, where the Black Man Lab meets. They got that big old gymnasium over there. And we've talked about this. I've sat in on so many meetings for so many years. And I've been doing this work. I'm 64, so you can imagine, probably about 40 years now. If we don't meet but twice a year, ideally quarterly, all of these organizations that you're speaking of that are doing great work, meet and just kind of talk about the things, the vision you have, the things you're doing in the community, and coordinate quarterly. You know, you had to map out a plan, a strategy, and make sure that you continue this meeting, because it's like we keep reinventing the wheel, starting over and over again. And I know I'm preaching to the choir. I just think that if we simply make this a ritual, then our young people see these habits and see these rituals, and they chime in. Yeah, I think we need to take advantage of the fact that we do have so many people doing good work, but we don't coordinate enough. That's not to knock what we're doing. I'm just saying that, as you said, to make it better, to make it more effective, if we would just meet more consistently and strategize more regularly, then we'd be far more effective than we are.
Absolutely. I 100% agree with that. Because I'm always amazed. Ever since we've been doing this in this forum, I've had more and more people reach out to me to say, hey, we want to work with Black Man Lab, or they may want to work with another organization that was on here. Can you connect me? So on and so forth. And as I spin my wheels on that, or if I make the connection, or if I say, okay, yeah, we meet every Monday, I'm still in a position where, and we're still in a position where, we're just kind of spinning our wheels, right? We're doing the same thing, getting the same results. But I think now more than ever, we have some really, especially as I listen to you guys, we have some really strong brothers that all are on the same page of dealing with oppression as we see it in our communities, right? Because we know that what the condition of our communities isn't because of who we are, it's because of what we've been through, right? As a people. So, what about you, Walk? What do you think about that?
I love, first of all, Marty, let me thank you for the way you framed that question or whatnot. Mountain of oppression. Man, you can't even start without talking about, you know, folks say, man, don't make a mountain out of a molehill. Well, hell, what do you make out of a mountain? You know what I'm saying? I mean,
right.
So we ain't talking about no molehill. Let's get real, man. So I'm sitting here, I'm taking notes, copious notes, as Baba was talking about consistency, organizing, rituals, and habits. One of the things that perplexes me more than anything, man, is this whole idea that Black folks got tier 1 HBCUs and tier 2 HBCUs and all these little mind games we allow people to play with our community, to say that if you go to this university right here, this is the top level Black school right here. So kids even graduate, and where that used to be something to be proud of, now, you know, you graduate and you feel bad because you didn't get into one of the big three. You know what I mean? So like, bro, when you start talking about how do we organize and galvanize our resources, and I'm gonna say this, and that might be some folks who get mad. And I'm gonna say this right here though, brother. Why the hell is it that y'all give all y'all money to 3 Black colleges? Galvanize, let's damn dig deep and see which Morris Brown is the blackest college on that doggone AU Center, and y'all let that school close down. And that's a Black campus right there. Talking about galvanizing, these have a song in Atlanta like money ain't a thing, but damn it, money thing, then won't you throw some of that money then at these HB? Got people who are doing the work out here. We're not even asking you to do the work. Man, sometimes all of the soldiers don't have to be a soldier who's on the front line. We can learn that lesson from my brother A.G. Gaston down in Birmingham, Alabama, who they will never teach about in the standards in U.S. history or government. But you don't have a Dr. King and all of those protesters getting out of jail in Birmingham on the Bull Connor without A.G. Gaston having the money to get them out of jail. Why don't we know about that, brother? And that ties into what my brother was saying earlier when he talked about those life skills or whatnot. What about that brother right there? Hey, man, I might not have a college degree, but, bro, one thing you don't have to worry about at the hotel, Mr. Gaston, since you provide a housing for the people when they come to town, because we're talking about segregated Birmingham, you know, what we're talking about right
now. Uh-oh, we lost Brother Walk, man. When he gets
there was a passion level that
right. Zoom couldn't take his passion, dog. We lost you.
That's my dude right there, man.
Yes,
all facts what he's saying, man. I hope he gets back in here quick.
Yeah,
he'll be back.
Absolutely. He gonna come back. You know, Walk.
No lies, man.
While we got this little break, though, let me bring in my brother OG, who's joined us, man, from Chicago. I'm glad you were able to join us, brother OG. Come on in and introduce yourself, man.
Yeah, first of all, thank you for having me. I jumped on at a perfect moment. I felt the passion that my brother was putting out there. But once again, OG Eggleston, born and raised in the city of Chicago. Currently executive director for Chicago Survivors. We provide resources for family members that lose a loved one to homicide in the city of Chicago. So anybody that's following any type of news, anybody that's in the city of Chicago, you know that this unfortunately is a very busy time for us. So just brief introduction. Happy to be here. Looking forward to learning from the conversation and providing input where I can.
Man, appreciate you, bro, and good to see you. And you know, that work that you're doing gotta be taxing on you and the people that work alongside of you, man, because there's so much going on back home right now, man, but we need people like you to be doing that work to keep people strong, keep us moving forward. Thank you for that. But we'll bring you back into the conversation as well. Brother Walker, we said that you got so fired up, man, that you made your Zoom fail, brother.
Put your mic back on.
Get your mic back on, bro. There you go.
Can't do, man. I was fired up, brother, and I'm still fired up. And I get a chance to give this to those scholars every single day, man, at the South Atlanta University. And I tell people, you know, I tell my students oftentimes, you guys, when we start talking about Galvanizing, now I bring this to my organization that I collaborated and co-founded with Brother Miley Davis and a host of other great brothers. But one of the things I tell my scholars, man, every single day, that you guys are fortunate, man, to be at South Atlanta High School with some of the best educators, man, in the whole country. And you don't realize it right now while you're here, because you're looking over across I-20 at North Atlanta High School, because everything look bigger, brighter, shinier. I said, man, y'all got some personal relationship with educators like myself, and I don't allow them, Marty, to call me a teacher. I tell them teachers pump in content knowledge, educators pull out greatness. So when we start galvanizing, we're going to get some of these brilliant minds. And let me just clear something up. It was no attack on the big three. I just need you to see, sometimes we got to have some tough conversation when we start talking about galvanizing. You know, it's kind of like if you grow up on a certain side of Chicago where you're more affluent, and all of a sudden Negroes say, bro, you played in the Southeast Baseball League with us, and now you can't even come back and buy some uniforms for a team, and you're on national TV giving money to other communities. You do what you want to with your money. However, if we're going to galvanize, we got to quit asking for crumbs from the government. We got to do what Big Mama them did when they didn't even have formal education back in the day. But how's the hell that my grandma, who didn't even make it to high school, owned 2 businesses, but I got family members who got 2 and 3 doctorate degrees and don't have a damn job? So my thing is, when we start talking about galvanizing, I bring this to it goes back to literacy. This is a book that I collaborated with called Masterminds of Mentoring and Human Motivation. And if you look at the back cover, man, there are a bunch of scholars on this book who decided that we need to galvanize. I cannot stay in my own little cocoon and have all of my wisdom and all of my degrees and all of my knowledge and don't share it with the very brothers who I get a chance to stand on the stage and get paid thousands of dollars speaking to their problems. But I have no solutions to offer back to those brothers because I keep it all to myself in my own little select group. So when we start thinking about galvanizing, we got to understand, like somebody said earlier, what I think Mustafa said that, what do the young brothers need? This book right here, man, is called The Hip Hop Generation Bakari Kawana, and it was called that, and the subtitle is Young Blacks and the Crisis in African American Culture. If you're gonna work with our young babies and we're gonna galvanize, because it starts with the bottom, y'all already know that. You know what I'm saying? If you ask the people in East Africa, I can't even say the tribe right now. I thought they called the Maasai or something along those lines. It just said, if you want to know what the community looked like, it asked them, it just said, they asked the question. I'm talking about warriors would ask each other this question. How are the children? If the children are well, the community is well. If the children are screwed up, that means we failed them, because we as grown folks cannot galvanize and show them that people who look like them, we have always done for ourselves. We allow somebody to school us to think that we are welfare recipients. That's not who we are. That goes back to the cultural awareness. And lastly, I got this new book, man, I picked up. It's a new one. Dante Lee called Black Business Secrets, 500 Tips, Strategies, and Resources for the African-American Entrepreneur. Can you imagine if all of the Black entrepreneurs in Atlanta galvanized, all of us decided that we're gonna share our resources. We're not even gonna take away from your regular everyday avocation, how you make your millions or whatnot. Hey man, all we want is one tip from all of the entrepreneurs. We're gonna get with all of the water boys on the block. We're gonna start with those Black boys again. We're gonna galvanize those young men to create their own entrepreneurship incubator. And I already have a model for it right now called the Awaken the Genius Entrepreneurship Institute. I would love to get with those brothers from Chicago, because I know we have a Phi Beta Sigma brother on here. I know he probably see that black and old gold right here, Alpha Phi Alpha Fraternity Incorporated. We got to galvanize this energy together. And lastly, his brother who's at Grambling State University. I'm Alabama State University all day, every day, man. So y'all know it's a swag thing. But if we want to do it, man, I think it takes something like what we do with Let Us Make Man, bro. And I would drop the mic right here. And Let Us Make Man, everybody has to check their degrees at the door. Everybody check their college at the door. Everybody check their income at the door, because if you don't love Black people, that's the only thing that we're here for. We're solution driven, we're community driven. And when you start talking about how do we galvanize, when all of us come into that room, the only thing that matters is a bunch of men who have one vision, but we're doing it collectively. So y'all, it starts with us, first and foremost, the Black men, getting some humility. It starts with us asking the question to each other as Black kings and Black men, how are the children? And lastly, we got to give them some solutions, man, like going out there to create their own doggone markets and whatnot, and quit depending on the government who doesn't give a dang about your community, man. So that's what I have to offer to that thing about galvanizing and putting our resources together.
Hey, let me say this, man. Let me say this. You know, Walt, I know Walt for a little bit, and that you're amazing, brother. And everything you said, everybody's on here nodding their heads, man, because you're right. And the thing about Walt, man, that dude practice what he preached. When I'm in there on Saturday mornings with Next Level, I see Walt. When I go to a Next Level, when I go to a long banquet, I see Walt. When I'm in the schools trying to work with students, I see Walt. I mean, dude is like walking that walk. That you all are, man. But I want to just emphasize something he said, because Baba said it, and Walt, you said it, and we say it in so many different ways. But one of the things I always express to my mentees and the mentors that work with them, these young brothers can't be what they don't see. And so if they don't see us, if they don't see this right here, what we doing, if they don't see grown men that can disagree and still go out and grab a brew together or hang out together, they don't know how to do it. And so we joke about it, but Walt's right. One thing I learned quickly when I got out of school, man, is, yeah, you know, when we was at school, I was an alpha, and we was gonna fight the noobs and fight the Qs, whoop. Man, when I got out of corporate America with all these white folk, I was glad to see glad to see a Sigma, because I knew I would a similar path.
Yes,
this galvanizing thing is real, man. But we might jest and joke about things, but these young brothers don't see that I'm working with a noob every Monday night on Black Man Lab, that I'm working with a noob every Saturday at Next Level. I mean, Walt, you one of the few brothers that I'm in space with when it comes to this. But for me, I'm going to be around those brothers that are building up these young men. Whether you Greek, not. Whether you from FAMU, Howard, Smith, Lincoln, it don't matter. Like, I want you all to understand that this is the village. And that's galvanizing. Everything you said, brother, is when we start taking these labels off, and we want to put them to HBCU, bro. You know how many HBCUs there are out there? And we talking about, you say 3, we might talk about 5. We might talk about 7. But bro, it's so many more that we need to be supporting. So, Walt, man, thank you for that passion. Thank you for that real. And Baba, for leading us into that conversation, man, because I'm telling you, in my 50s, and I see all the things that we don't galvanize because we're so individualized trying to do things. And that's why it's so important for us to be in this space. I appreciate y'all saying those things, man, for real.
Well, to your point, Joe, and I think everybody on the panel will agree with this. First of all, we're already at after 7:30. So
wow,
these good conversations go like this, right? We're supposed to end at 7:45. We may take it a few minutes longer tonight because we're really delving into some good stuff. But to your point, I think that when we talk about galvanizing, the challenge has been that we have been conditioned to operate within an ideology that is not ours, right? Our African ideology tells us we should be about community, the earth, and love, right? That's the baseline of what every African culture has had, and yet we start operating outside of that. And when you talk about egos, that's also somebody else's ideology that we operate within, and because of that, our individual organizations do the same thing. You know, my organization's better than your organization. The reality is all these organizations are great if they're doing the right work. And the reality of it is we all are trying to do the same thing, but we allow sometimes these different ideologies to get in the way of us doing the right work. But I think that where we're at today as a community, one, because of what our communities are going through in terms of the levels of violence and people looking for solutions. Likewise, the visibility of it. When I say that, I mean, meaning, you know, there was a time when George Floyd would have happened and nobody would have knew, you know. Now these things are being videoed, so their level of awareness has been raised. So as unfortunate as it is, I think it's also good at bringing us closer to a level of being galvanized. Because once that happens, it's going to be dangerous for those that don't want us to be. Baba, you're going to say something?
Yeah, just something as you think. I'm listening to you and I'm thinking about something that's just real to me. Mm-hmm. Most of the young brothers, and we focusing on young brothers, most of the young brothers I work with at the juvenile court have one thing in common. Most of them being raised by a single mother. I mean, we literally celebrate when a Black man walks into the courtroom with his son or his daughter and says, I'm here to support my child. If there's one thing that I think we can all do, and I think all of us, present company excluded, all of us are doing this anyway. One thing that we can do is commit to one child, one family, and say, this young man, I'm taking under my wing. Mm-hmm. Because it amazes me that a lot of the young people that I work with, the things that we consider simple, I'm in college right now myself, and I'm telling you, it's a headache. At 64, I should know all of this stuff. This financial aid and all that foolishness that goes along with it, and studying. You know, now imagine this child that they're saying has a 6th grade education, which he's much brighter than that, and she's much brighter than that. King, you know this. Nobody's taking that child by the hand. And the key is consistency. We can start it, but you can't stop in the middle. You got to see that child all the way through. What I'm getting at is, if we can get more brothers, again, present companies included, y'all do it. I know you're doing it. Get more brothers just to commit to one child and say, this one is mine. I'll give you a perfect example. Young man I started mentoring when he was 14, single mother raising him. And she was dealing with her own issues. May have been drugs. I don't know specifically what it was. She was very angry, and she would put him out one week and he'd have to come stay with me, and he'd be in the street. And he lived most of his life. I didn't know this until he was old. He lived at, what's this bookstore? Barnes and Noble. He would go there all day, spend his whole day reading books. Long story short, he put him out, and I convinced him he was just about to hit the streets and start selling guns. And he told me about an adult had approached him and said, man, I can put some money in your pocket. You just do this for me. And he came to me. Thank God he came to me because he had that relationship that I'm talking about. He came to me and said, Mr. Mustafa, I don't want to do this, but can you? I said, look, brother, we talked about going in the Navy. I'm going to help you if that's what you want to do. That brother took that ASVAB and tested off the charts because he'd been reading. He'd been educating himself. My wife used to take him to Clark College when she was in college. And he would sit in the classroom and when nobody else would raise their hand, he would answer the question. This is a 15, 16-year-old kid. And there's so many of them that we don't even know. King does, maybe more of us than I know. But what I'm getting at is the young man right now has been in the Navy and traveled all over the world. Now, this kid was homeless at 15, about to start selling guns. He has now been in the Navy for about 15 years. He calls me up every now and then and says, man, I'm in Japan, I'm in what? And I'm just sitting there and amazed. I'm in Hawaii. You want me to ship you and your wife out? I said, no, brother, thank you, but keep your money and take care because he just had a beautiful baby, just got married. I'm so proud of him. I'm telling that story to say, that's all it takes, that connection. If each one teach one, each one reach one, if we commit to just do that, we'll change the world, one child at a time. Every organization, and one more thing, and I'm gonna shut up. We need to celebrate these brothers. I went to a thing called Salute the Black Fathers. It must have been 15 years ago. I ain't seen one since. Maybe I don't know about it. Maybe I don't know about it. You want to accentuate what you want to see more of.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? If we start to celebrate, then the young brothers that show up, oh man, that's brother so-and-so, that's brother King, that's brother Marty, that's brother Joe, brother Carlos. They're celebrating him. I'd like to be celebrated, not egotistically, but it's just nice to somebody to say, man, thank you. We need to do that at least once a year, twice a year, celebrate the things that we want to see more of. And you'll see more brothers starting to come out and say, man, that's nice. Just the fellowship at the why do I forget the name of it?
Black Man Lab.
Black Man Lab, but not on the King, the thing we do every year. Let us make man. That fellowship, I hadn't made it, and I need to get there more often, but I'm always working, always, or in school. There's no excuse though. We need to make time to celebrate these accomplishments because I'm telling you, that's how we turn this thing around, is we start to celebrate, get that one child and stick with him until he gets in college or he goes in the military or whatever it is that he wants to do. Because we have to take them by the hand sometimes. It might seem like a lot, but we assume that they know. They don't. They don't have anybody but mom, and she got 4 other kids, and she's trying to take care of them. And that young man, I'm telling you this other part, I'm gonna shut up again. There's some gangs out here that's doing a better job than we are. And that's a problem at recruiting our young men. I'm gonna leave it right there.
Yeah, and you're absolutely right. I think that as it relates to us reaching and touching, right, a big part of that is it's really simple. When our young folks see that there's a different way, right? When they see there's a different way, but then 2, when they are actually having somebody show them the attention that they don't normally see, that changes the paradigm of everything. To use Brother Walk's phrase, it awakens the genius in them.
It does.
It awakens because we know that given the opportunity, our young folks, both male and female, our young folks, when given the opportunity and placed in the right environment that opens them up for all the greatness within them, we see it time and again, whether that's in entertainment, whether that's in sports, whether that's in business, wherever. We see it time and again. The challenge is that our society, the society that we're in, does everything possible to mute the greatness in our people, right? And that's because our people have historically been the biggest commodity to the United States. And how do you remain a commodity, right? You remain a commodity by being used. That's what a commodity is, right? So that's been what we've been. So of course that would not be what they would want to see. But it's on us.
If I can add something to that,
please.
Also, I think that the society, it basically pits us against each other. Like my brother was talking about how, like, I'm also a Sigma. And when we were in college, you know, we didn't like this group. We didn't like that group.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So that's a societal thing. Like one thing that we did at like our non-for-profit One Team, One Plan, One Brand, if you look at our page, there's a part where it says a call for help from the Divine Nine. So basically, our thought is, if I'm a Sigma, me and using my platform is much weaker if we were to like join forces. Every organization, not just Greek organizations, but every organization. I'll just read you a part of our website. This is the Divine Nine section. It says, this is my brother did a video. My brother's name is Carlos West. Look at his page, his personal page. He did a video, but in it says, he said that he then said what has become our motto here at One Team, One Plan, One Brand. Get the hell out and get in these streets. He has, as of October 20th, 2020, 220,000 views without any type of platform. He called for every organization to own not only using their platforms to make real change. Pro athletes are now using their platforms. Actors in Hollywood, are using their platforms. We can do the same. Why not join forces to solve a problem that affects all of us in the Divine Nine? So that's what really it should be about. I see every single organization trying to do things, and everybody is doing great work. But if we get together, if we say, hey, look, enough, and we use our platforms as one whole, as one powerful people, that's what's going to change everything. That's what's going to change everything. As long and as well as the programs, each individual programs that we have. Like I'm just going to talk about the one program I'm in charge. My brother said of our STEM program and foreign language program, and I did a lot of research as far as the foreign language and why brothers don't learn any type of foreign language. So I'm gonna give you a little history. Like I said, I lived in Brazil for 16 years, so I did a little history on that. So Brazil was the last country on the planet that ended slavery in 1888. They had what they called as a whitening policy. So in the 1920s, a lot of African Americans here in the U.S. basically wanted to migrate to Central and South America because we were getting lynched, we were getting beaten. You had Jim Crow and everything, so we didn't have the opportunities that a lot of societies had. So there was a huge migration of blacks going to Central and South America. So a lot of people wanted to go to Brazil, because Brazil was known as a country that they had a lot of opportunity. Brazil wanted to do or did what was called a whitening policy along with the U.S. government because they were tired of their country being it was becoming too colorful. You know what I mean? It was too, because the Brazilians are mixed with Indians, blacks, and whites, but because at the end of slavery, it was so many slaves, basically our color is the most dominant color, so we were dominating their culture. So they had what is called a whitening. So the United States government, along with the Brazilian government, basically stopped immigration or our migration to Brazil. So basically, that's history. I say anybody that wants like the history on that, I will send that to you. Send me a message in the inbox. So in the United States, we got 22% of the United States that speak a second language. Of that 22%, 15 you take out because these are immigrants that basically came over to the United States from any Hispanic speaking country, or, a different country around the world. So at least 7%. Of that 7%, 6.99% are white. So that leaves 0.001 or 1 out of every 1,000 people that in our community that actually speak a second language. I lived in Brazil for 16 years. I saw the opportunities that I had. I worked for a company called Loja Americana, which is the Brazilian version of Walmart. I was a translator for them for like 13 years. I did contracting work or consulting work, I should say, for contractors that went down to the United States, down to Brazil from the U.S. I did contracting work for the government, the United States government, for people that a lot of Americans, they go to, especially other races, they go down to Brazil, they do messed up stuff. They have things that are called favelas, a place that calls favelas, which are like what we would consider as projects, but there's like basically the slums. So these white people go down to these areas and just do messed up stuff, and because they have money, they will basically get, I don't know, kidnapped or whatever. So the white people, they basically take care of their own. So they would actually send their people in along with people that could kind of resolve the situation. So I got contracted out for a few of those jobs as well. So it's so much that you can do speaking of the second language, and we don't even get a piece of that pie. So a lot of this stuff you don't even need a college education. I don't have a degree, but I was able to do all of this stuff. I went to Grambling. I never graduated.
Marty.
So
Marty.
Yeah.
Can I say something?
Yeah, absolutely. Cut your brother off.
Walt.
Yo.
Brother Walt, I love the way you were honest. The things that we gotta do is we have to hold each other accountable, and we have to be honest. So one of the problems are these fraternities and sororities. So I'm a Sigma. So when you sit in chapter meeting and we have all these things going on in the communities, where are the brothers and sisters at? So for example, and I don't like to call names out of nothing. So let's take Kamala Harris. How can all the Greeks and AKAs come to raise all this money for her, but we got kids that's starving, uneducated, but they don't have the energy to go, like the brother said, grab one kid.
Yeah.
So the women in the sororities and the men in the fraternities are to the point where they don't want to give back and go work. They want to front like they're doing they're not doing. That's one of the, because if our body grabbed a kid or two, we wouldn't be in the situation we are in.
Wow.
Agreed.
So we got to be honest with ourselves, because if that's why my thought of one team, one plan, one brand is an all-inclusive organization. So it's not just Greeks. I say GDs is gang members, churches, men, women, because the basis of it is to make sure the women, children, community are safe and we get the resources we need. So the more that numbers we have and we working for the same thing, we will be able to get the resources. So we have, like the brother said earlier, I was in college, like when I was in the college, we get into it with Kappas. So if y'all, how can they get along? Because they don't see the people in the streets really don't know about fraternities. They know colors. So when they on Facebook, if you look at the events, if it's a Kappa event, it's all Kappas. If it's a Alpha event, if we are separated, so we need to start being together to show that we in this together. So then we could go to gangs, Bloods, Crips, GDs. Man, y'all need to get along. But they could point the finger at us and say, y'all don't get along. When we see y'all together.
That's real.
Yeah. That's a great point, and one of which, the idea of galvanizing has been heavy on us as a group in Black Men Lab, again, because of how we are contacted by so many organizations. But one of the things that has always been in the back of my mind is just that, we have all of these different organizations, be they Greek or whatever, that kind of operate within their own silos, and in some cases are very competitive with one another for whatever reason. And me personally, that's just not my ideology. My ideology is that, we need to all be together and on the same page, at least about this one thing, right?
Yeah.
So let's talk economics. The Greek organizations were founded from what 1908, we were 19 for different years, 1911. We go to all these regional conventions, national conventions, spend all this money with white people, and we have not yet had enough sense to come together to buy one hotel to have all the conventions there. I mean, that's just plain ignorance. We spending millions of dollars going to regional conventions, national conventions to talk about absolutely nothing. Then after you had a meetings, it's just a party. Step shows. It's like buffoonery. But the people in it. So
Carlos, that's somebody else's ideology, right? And that's what's happened. We follow somebody else's ideology and get away from who we are as African people. And that's right. We can talk about it all day long in terms of what we've been doing, but
no, my point, just think. So the powers to be, if we're so-called the educated people and we do things that don't make sense, this is why they look at us like they do, because we don't have enough sense to come together and put everything. It's galvanizing means economically also putting the tools together to own stuff. We own 1% of everything in America. We own less now than we did from slavery. That means all these years we have not moved anything.
Absolutely. And that's so, we have a central way, and I think that we're going to get to that. Before we go any further on that, though, I want to make sure that we dial it back just a little bit, because we first of all, just so y'all know, we are way over time. We're supposed to be done at 7:45, but this conversation has been so meaningful and needed. And I think, like as I said at the beginning, somewhat cathartic for all of us. That I in no way wanted to stop it. We would normally be well over by now, but I'm going to keep us going. Also, this is the last one of these that we're doing in terms of being virtual. So why the hell not? Let's keep it pushing,
Love it.
But what I want to do,
I just had a quick question, because you guys that are in law, I just put a question out there. Are you guys familiar with Kareem West? He's the first African American juvenile court judge down in Cobb County down there. He's our cousin. That's why I was asking.
Oh, I'm not, but I'm gonna get to know him real soon.
Yeah.
I'm not familiar. I'm sure Maoli. By the way, Maoli had to jump off because he had a situation that he had to deal with. He's dealing with a domestic situation, not his own, of course, but a domestic situation that he needed to do some intervention on. So he had to jump off. But I guarantee you, Cartel, that I'll ask him. I'm sure he knows him because well known in the legal community down here.
He just got appointed in 2018.
Okay, he'll know. What I want to do is make sure that we dial back to our original topic, which is violence in the communities and how we're addressing it. I want to bring Brother OG in just to tell about your experience of, you're dealing with kind of the after effects, right? And what does that look like for you? How do you address those families? What have you seen? And then likewise, we had a question earlier that you probably didn't hear, which was if Lori Lightfoot said, hey, Brother OG, here, you can have whatever resources you need to change the paradigm of what it looks like in your communities right now. What do you think would be resources that would make that happen for you?
Yeah. So just to address the first question that you asked, what does it look like in the communities now? It's trauma. It's, PTSD. It's lack of mental health support. And this is multi-victimization. So we're dealing with families and communities that, lack efficient education. So that's an issue that they've been dealing with since they're 4 or 5 years old. Mm-hmm. You have lack of employment. So you're dealing with the trauma associated with that. You have ongoing community violence. that, you know, you're dealing with living in those communities. And then it hit home where you lose a loved one. So that's just compounded trauma or complex trauma, depending on what term you want to use. So for me, you know, I've been involved in community development for 20 years. I left corporate America to work in the communities. And, you know, homicides were a statistic, unfortunately. I mean, I've lost some friends here and there, but, you know, really on the news, you see the number of homicides in a weekend, you know, so it's more of a number. With this job, I get notification from the Chicago Police Department every single time there's a homicide in the city, and I get a name, I get their age, I get their gender, I get the location, so I know which communities are being heavily affected, which we already know, Black predominantly, and then Brown secondarily. And so now, not only is it a person, a name tied to this number, but then I now know that there's a family behind that homicide. So is this a sibling? Is this a parent? What have you? So it's a deeper level of understanding for me now, whereas before it was that's a violent community, or there's, you know, a high rate of homicides over holiday weekends. So that's one. Two, in terms of if Lori Lightfoot came to me and said, here's a pot of money, what would you do? And it kind of really ties into some of the points that you all made talking about galvanizing. I wouldn't keep all of that money within my organization, because our organization focuses on mental health. We focus on crisis response to de-escalate violence at the scene of the crime. But we don't do employment, which is key. We don't provide long-term mental health. We provide, you know, a bridge mental health support. So I would bring in other providers. We are citywide, but we don't have the roots in every single community that's affected, which means I need to go develop partnerships within communities that have the relationships with the families, that know the communities, that know the needs of the community, et cetera. So I will use some of that money to expand our services, but I will also use parts of that money to fund organizations that are experts and specialize in specific communities that need to be impacted. So that's short, you know, of course, a short answer that's what I would do, but it's the spoke in the wheel situation. There is no one area that we have to address. It has to be a multi-pronged approach, but what many people have said since I've joined the call, we have to be able to sit down at the table. Like I think someone said, you leave your affiliation at the door, you leave your income at the door, you leave all of our filters. Everything that they stated is basically a filter that we look through that causes us to act the way that we do. So man, take your glasses off, leave them filters at the door. We come down, we have a conversation, we argue, we fight it out. But when it's all said and done, we have some direction on the board that we all agree on. We may not agree on every single thing, but when we walk out of this room, there's 3 things we focusing on. And we're throwing all of our resources and all our energy on these 3 things because we think they're the most impactful. Until we're able to do that, we're really addressing symptoms, in my opinion. And so we have to dig deeper. We have to really get to the root cause of what's happening in our communities. And, you know, we're all experts in respective areas, and we have to lean on each other to you know, have some real solutions to these problems.
That's great, brother OG. I appreciate that, man. And you are so right, man, that the idea that we all come together on at least 1 or 2, you know, you said 3, but at least 1 or 2 centralized themes that we know are the root of the problem. Until that happens, we're gonna just be dealing with band-aids.
Exactly, because really violence is a symptom, actually.
Sure.
It is.
Absolutely.
Violence is a symptom of an underlying cause. It's just how you act out whatever issues that you're dealing with. And so until this is a public health crisis on a national level that opens up additional resources from the government, you know, because nonprofits, and somebody mentioned this earlier, nonprofits fight against each other because there's a limited number of resources available. So we're competing for grants. We don't want to give anybody else any shine because we don't want them to get the money that we don't want to get. So, you know, I'll stop there.
So that part of that means we might need to not expect to get those grants and get our our own resources moving in the right direction, right? Where we're doing it internally. Bob, I'm gonna come to you, and then we're gonna have to wrap up, man. We're way over 8 o'clock already, but go ahead.
I'm gonna be real quick. You said three things, and forgive me, you said three things. Do you have three specific things in mind? And one more question. The masjid, the mosque, the church, these institutions are sitting there 6 days a week, most of them, and they have the ear, they have the building. Is anybody reaching out to these churches and mosques and masjids and these preachers and saying, look, we need you right now? I haven't heard much from the church since COVID hit. Maybe I'm just out of the loop. But yeah, those three things, Brother OG. And has anybody reached out to these religious institutions to see what is their buy-in?
Yes, there are, we go into the community where we may partner with the church to do peer-to-peer grief counseling in the setting. So yes, there are churches that work with nonprofit organizations. We work with them. We'll work with any institution, regardless of religious background. But there has to be, the institution has to have the best interest of the community first.
Right.
It can't be an institution that we can partner with because they have great name recognition. And, a lot of organizations and institutions that come around if it's a high profile homicide. But are you going to be there 3 months after this high profile homicide?
When the cameras on, right?
Exactly. So when the cameras go off, and unfortunately, in our organization, it's all right. We know this is high profile. Reach out to the families. Let's build our trusting relationship. We also understand 10 or 15 other individuals or organizations will step in. Let's make sure we're there in 2 to 3 months after the cameras go away, because we know that's when the trauma really sets in with the families, because they're caught up with the cameras in front of them, everybody reaching out, they're talking, they're distracted. And then when the cameras are gone, that's when the trauma really sets in for them. So yes, we do partner with those levels of organizations. Yeah, but it's not that conversation where we're sitting down there and we're creating plans, long-term plans to have true impact. I've been in the job for a year now. So one band, one sound, super simple. We're not at that level yet, in my opinion.
Gotcha. Great stuff, man. I think those areas that we look at, we look at things to galvanize around. You talk about education, you talk about fiscal responsibility. So, our within the community. And then, of course, everybody being civically engaged. Because I think that once people see Black men doing this work, we're natural to want to do it with them, right? It's what happens with our young folks. We've seen that in Black Man Lab. So, look, man, we are so far over time, but I want, again, this is our last one of doing this, so I'm being a little selfish right now. Joe is gonna get mad at me because I'm not ending it just yet. But what we do every week is we also ask our panelists, what are your habits, rituals, and disciplines that you do on a daily basis that help you to move forward every day in doing the work that you do? And the reason that we want to know that is because hopefully one of our young folks is out there and they hear something that they can pick up on that keeps them driving forward, right? So I'm going to ask you guys each, your habits, rituals, and disciplines that you do on a daily basis that keep you moving forward and doing the work that you do and just being the person that you are, whether that's as a father, whether that's, as a husband, whatever, the stuff that keeps you moving forward. So, Brother Kine, I'll start with you, man. You've been through this before. You know about habits, rituals, and disciplines. What are yours?
I have three, and I formed the acrostic WOW, W-O-W. First thing, man, waking up every day and working out. I don't care if it's just doing some push-ups or something, get that blood flowing right there, man, doing some crunches, walking. That's what I started back doing recently, walking, like trying to get my 5 miles in every day. Once I come back from working out, then I got to organize my thoughts or whatnot, get my calendar set right, make sure I'm organizing my day, organizing my week, organizing how I want to finish the day off. And then lastly, writing. That's the big thing I'm taking on now, Brother Marty. I'm writing on a book right now, a nonfiction book called 7 Secrets to Inspiring and Empowering Black Boys. And then I'm working on a fiction book called A Walking Contradiction. So I feel like if I can just get my students, and I let them see me doing it sometimes, the student might come in and say, Ms. Walt, so you think about, you ought to add this character right there into the book. See, like somebody said, I think Joe said it earlier, if they can't see it, they can't be it. So if my students know that I'm working out and I show them that, hey, man, I got to get rid of this stomach right here, whatnot, then they get a chance to see that. If they know that one of my weaknesses, because a lot of times they think us as educators, we don't have weaknesses. If they know that I'm focusing on working on organizing my day every single day so that I can be better prepared for them as scholars, as well as better prepared for my family and friends and so on and so forth, they get a chance to see that. And lastly, like I said, if they get a chance to see Black men write it, Miley just published his own book, man, and I mentioned it on a broadcast that I was on recently. Once they see Black men writing, Black boys start saying that, man, I don't like to write no essays. No, I like to write books. Y'all didn't catch that. I don't like to write essays. I like to write books. You know what I'm saying? I like to monetize my knowledge right now. So even though I might not be an A student in the school, I want to monetize my knowledge out there in the real world where I'm self-educating and not self-medicating. So wow, one more time in closing, I work out, I organize, and I write. That's my daily habits and rituals.
That's great stuff, Walker. Appreciate you, brother. Thank you. Wow. I'm gonna have to remember that one.
I remember that.
Baba, how about you? Your habits, rituals, and disciplines.
Oh man, of course, meditation, wake up, give thanks. Folks lay their clothes out every night. And some of them don't wake up.
Absolutely.
They wake up, you better give thanks. You ain't had to be here. But in our faith, it says sleep is the cousin to death. So don't forget that. I kind of map out what I'm going to do. Yeah, I do the same thing, Brother King. I've been doing 50 push-ups every day long as I can remember, and sit-ups. And I just started running. Thank you for that, Brother King. Help me remember that. I just started running. I'm up to about 7 miles per run. Oh man, I shocked myself. I used to run track in high school. It came back to me.
Wow.
And eating right. Garbage in, garbage out, fellas. And I owe that to my queen. She be on me, boy. Eat right. You can't get nothing good out if you're putting garbage in. I'm not trying to get everybody to go vegan. Go vegetarian. Cut back on some of the meat. If you're putting something that's dead in your body, what you think gonna come out? So
wow.
Living food, man. Living food for living beings. That's about it, y'all.
That's great stuff, man. I gotta get back to you. Said you're doing 7 a day?
I can do 7 miles straight, man. I shocked myself. Man. One day I just said, you know how you had that wall and you just say, nope, I ain't gonna stop. I can do 7 miles straight. I shocked myself, brother.
You're inspiring me, brother, because I don't run for nothing. Brother OG knows we used to hoop. So back when I was in Chicago, I hooped every weekend. And since I've been down here in Atlanta, hooping stopped. And my knees are telling me you can't run, old man. So I got to figure out something, man. I try. I do my yoga every day.
Get your bicycle, man.
Yeah. I hear you, brother. I'm gonna get
easy on the knee.
I gotta get at it. I gotta do something. You're right. I'm still, I'm okay, but I ain't where I need to be. That's for sure. Like I said, brother OG, he used to put it on me on the court. So, OG, since I'm talking about you, man, how about you? Habits, rituals, and disciplines, bro.
Yeah. So consistent with the last two young men that spoke, exercise. But more recently, including my family in the exercising. So going to the gym with my girl, getting my daughter to the gym with us, or working out with her at home, just, trying to do as much stuff together with the family. And then just family time, making sure that it's built in family time to build that connection. And then self-wellness. And that's a combination. I'm trying to get back into reading. I've, unfortunately buried myself in my job. And so I have to break away. Self-care is important. So reading, eating healthy, cooking as a family, yoga. I've been doing that for about 20 years on and off. So I'm getting back to that because my body is demanding it. And then last is entrepreneurship. We talked about economics on the call. So, really looking for more entrepreneurial opportunities in the city that can help me and my family, but also help communities.
That's beautiful, man. I love that, man. And I hear you on the yoga thing, man.
Crucial. Nothing
Yeah,
like it.
since stopping playing basketball, I was, doing nothing. But I'm not. Again, my knees are so bad I can't run. And the hills. That's the other thing. I got a bike, but the hills here in Atlanta, man, I ain't ready. So I'm just being honest. We call the Black Man Lab a safe and sacred space. So here I am being honest. I can't handle them hills. Not yet. I'm gonna get there though. I'm gonna get there.
Take your bike to a track at a high school, and you just go round and around that circle, man.
That's an idea. I'm gonna take that with me, Mama. Thank you.
Yep.
Brother Carlos, how about you? Your habits, rituals, and disciplines, bro.
I would say first pray. I like to pray and meditate. Walk where I get to think my thoughts. And then the third thing I like to do when I get up and before I go to sleep, I look at my vision board so I know what I'm trying to get to and what I've accomplished. Those are the three things I do.
That's good stuff there, man. My woman is big on the vision board, so she has it up in our room. And I done looked up and she done accomplished pretty much everything on that daggone vision board. And she told me I should have made one. And now I feel like I gotta listen because she was right. So women tend to know stuff that we don't, I guess. That's how that goes.
Yes, that's so true.
Brother Cartel, how about you? Your habits, rituals, and disciplines, bro.
Well, I'll put you like this. I'm a flight attendant, so my daily lifestyle is like I'm in and out of everything. You know what I mean? I try to code. I also code too. So I try to code as much as I can in the morning. That actually takes my mind off of everything, just my project, whatever project that I'm doing. But outside of that, it's kind of hard for me to have a daily ritual because my days vary so often. I travel like crazy. I actually work for American, not so much for the job per se, because I make way more money coding, but I do it for the flight benefits. So I like travel constantly, all of the time. So I would say my only ritual would be coding.
Good stuff, man. Well, that's a heavy duty ritual right there, because that ritual is bringing some money. So good stuff.
But it's fun. And it's fun.
I wish I could say that. I couldn't tell you a thing about it, but good stuff, brother. We're gonna have we've had a Black Man Lab on coding before, so we need to bring you back when we do that again, man. So
that's what's up.
Yes, sir. So listen, brothers, the conversation tonight was great. You guys are gonna go down in history as the last of our virtual, and I say this with much humility, the last of our virtual Black Man Labs, and hopefully we won't have to ever do it again like this, because we will be able to be in the same space all the time. But what we are doing is we are going to have a new virtual space that we're going to be in. It's going to be called Lab Results. Black Man Lab presents Lab Results. So it'll be once a week, every Wednesday. And what Lab Results is going to be is a more in-depth interview, one-on-one interview with somebody from our topic from the Monday. So let's say like this week, we talked about violence in the community. We're not doing one this Wednesday. We'll start next Wednesday. But if we did, we'd have, maybe one of you guys on or somebody else from around the country that deals with violence in the community to have a one-on-one conversation to find out what they're doing in that work that they do, but then also more about the person. Because here's the thing. We know that we all got hellified stories as Black men, don't we? We know that, right? Our stories for what got us here are just incredible. Every single one of us, we know that. So our young folks and our communities need to know about them. They need to know about those stories. They can be inspired, but then also so that they can say, hey, I know that I can get there, right? Cartel, you had a great story, man. You do what you do, and you said you didn't graduate. That's that happens. That happens, but they still didn't stop your success.
Yeah, I'm actually in college right now. I'm actually back in college right now for coding.
You can do it. Because
I'm a self-taught coder, but I got a friend. So you all from Chicago? Do you all remember Roddy Williams?
I'm not familiar with him.
He went to St. Albie with me and Carlos.
Okay.
He's a year behind us. But
yes.
if he vice president of Microsoft.
Wow. There you go. That's the story, right? That's the story.
So so he introduced me to a couple of people, Netflix. I went out to his house a couple of years ago, and they said, "Hey, look, get it. You know, I'm already had the experience. Get the paper in it, and they'll get me in. So that will be back in school."
Gotcha. Great stuff, Baba. What you got there?
This is one book that I highly recommend to actually not just the brothers, but the single mothers. Visions for Black Men by Dr. Naeem Akbar. This is my signed copy. It's all beat up. I got it from him.
You better put that in protection.
Man, brother, you got to everybody. It's a short read. Look at that. Yep. You got to read this book. It puts everything in. I saw Brother King give me some props over there, man. Get this book, read it. It's a one-day read. And
it's called what? What is it called?
Vision for Black Men by Dr. Naeem Akbar. You got to get this book. And again, it's highly recommended reading for sisters raising boys and men, single fathers raising boys. It's just a great all-around book.
Great stuff. So that's it, brothers. We've spun it all out, man. We did all we could tonight, man. We took this last one to as far as we could, man. Brother Joe, you got anything you want to add before we sign off?
Man, go on, get out of here, man.
Joe, boy, I tell you.
Mark Lawson. I see Mark Lawson. Who is Mark Lawson?
Mark is a producer that's been cussing us out this whole time because
Mark is our producer. Marcus is the man behind the scenes.
Okay.
Constantly keeping us moving, man. He's the man.
Another link in this chain.
That's what I'm about to do, Mark. I'm about to do it right now. I got you, brother. I'm sorry. You see, he's trying to wrap me up. So every week, y'all, we end the same way. If we were in person, we get together and we do this in the tradition of Queen Mother Njeri Algani, who was one of the leaders of the Pan-African organization in Cobra. And what she would do is everybody would link arms and they'd say, I'm a link in this chain and it won't break here. So we do this every week at Black Man Lab. We're going to do it here tonight virtually. We've been doing for the past since the beginning of COVID, we do this virtually. So if I could ask everybody to put your arms up. Brother Cartel, I know you're driving. You got one arm. That's cool. And then just repeat after me. I'm a link in this chain.
I'm a link in this chain.
And it won't break here.
And it won't break here.
I'm a link in this chain.
I'm a link in this chain.
And it won't break here.
And it won't break here.
We are linked in this chain.
We are linked in this chain.
And we won't break here.
And we won't break here.
Ashe.
Ashe.
I cannot thank y'all enough for tonight. Again, we went way over our time, but it was well worth it. I think we shared a whole lot of good information tonight. I hope you all enjoyed it. Brother Joe, thank you, man, for being here with me every week. Mark, man, you've been amazing. Thank you. So we will see you again on Wednesday nights with lab results. Black Man Lab presents lab results. And I'm sure at some point I may reach out to some of you guys to have you on to interview you all and hear about you all's lives that could inspire somebody else, man. So thank you so much. Love y'all.
It was a pleasure meeting everybody. Thank you so much, Mark.
Love you, brothers.
Love you, bro.